Next, from Springfield, we talk with Dan Long, the Executive Director of the Illinois Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability, to get his forecast on Illinois' fiscal year 2016 budget. This runs about 12 minutes.
All right, Dan Long, thank you so much for joining us here on the Illinois channel from the Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability, also known as COGFA. So the recent forecast for fiscal year 16 was recently presented to the Commission. Can you go ahead and just give us a brief overview of the major highlights that was found in that forecast?
Sure. First, we went over some economic data, mainly focusing on employment. That seems what drives an economy. And over the years, since the Great Recession, Illinois has trailed, starting in about fiscal year 9 or 10, trailed both the nation and the Midwest in terms of jobs. Recently, the United States has fulfilled or added all the jobs that were lost during the Great Recession. Not only added, it's even increased above what was lost. Illinois still hasn't reached that point, and we never regained the jobs that we lost during the last recession before the latest recession started. So that's always been an issue, and as a result, that's has an impact on revenue. We look at the number of people employed mainly, as opposed to unemployed. There's more people working. The second issue regard to employment that was brought about was that a lot of the jobs that have been lost in Illinois are in manufacturing, and those jobs that are being replaced are in generally lower paying jobs, such as in the medical field or in the retail sector, service sector. So that was kind of an issue with the economy, and as a result of that can have an impact on revenues. When we got to revenues, we wanted to update the fiscal 15 revenues first. The House in the last several years has adopted a joint resolution or a joint resolution adopting the revenue estimates of the Commission. We updated that revenues for fiscal year 15, and they're about $1.3 billion less than what was adopted at the beginning of the fiscal year. So that puts pressure on the budget. There were several areas. One, the corporate income tax is down. The second area had to do with federal sources. In order to get Medicaid reimbursement, you have to spend money, and then you get reimbursed 50% from the feds, and that money simply hasn't been available to pay down a lot of those bills. And then the third area is when they passed the budget for fiscal 15, the legislature included borrowing $650 million from other state funds that would have to be paid back to those funds over an 18-month period. And thus far, the current governor has indicated he's not going to utilize that money. Obviously, it's been widely reported there's negotiations going on in terms of maybe utilizing some money from those other funds, but at this juncture, we've taken that money out of the forecast. So that establishes a base then, going into fiscal 16. And in fiscal 16, the revenues are going to be down closer to around $2 billion. The big portion of that's from the big three: income tax, both corporate and personal, and sales taxes, although they're reported to be doing a little better. But we're going to be down about $2 billion in addition to the $1.3 billion for this year. So it's a significant amount of money, and I think that's why the budget was introduced. Included a lot of reductions in programmatic spending, simply because there's going to be far fewer revenues to support those programs.
Okay, and the income tax rate went down in January, and you're saying that for fiscal year 16, we're going to be down $2 billion. Mm-hmm. The income tax rate is the major factor of that?
That's a major factor, yes, because for fiscal 15, since it didn't take effect till January of this year, you lost only 6 months of revenue at the higher levels, which had the personal income tax at 5%, which is dropping to 3.75, and corporate at 7%, which would be dropping down to about 5.25. So that's a major loss in revenue, because your largest sources are the corporate and the personal income tax in particular, And then you've got sales tax, and then you've got corporate tax. So by reducing those percentages, in fiscal 16 will be the first full year of that revenue loss. And even though you're going to get, some increases in some other lines, overall we believe that revenues will be down over $2 billion, around $2 billion. And it could be higher depending on, again, federal sources. It's very hard to predict federal sources because we don't know exactly what the reimbursable spending is going to be. But we believe it'll be at least $2 billion. And combined with the decrease in 15, you're well over $3 billion loss in revenues.
Okay. During the presentation to the commission, you mentioned something about Illinois being almost like two economies. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Oh, sure. Each year, one of the statutory duties of the commission is to prepare a report on the economy of Illinois, which was done by Moody'sEconomy.com, our Moody's organization, which we published. And they looked at it, and there's two areas like Chicago and Lake County seem to be growing. Chicago in particular is adding a lot of high-tech jobs around the merchandise mart in that area. But the rest of the state is not. You've not recovered the jobs. You're not seeing the expansion of businesses either expanding or locating in the state. So that's where we talked about, well, there's almost two economies in Illinois. One's up north, but you've only got like Chicago and Lake County, but even the collar counties, are not doing, most of them are not doing as well either. So that's what was meant by that, the fact that there's almost two economies in the state.
Mm-hmm. And it was also mentioned that there has been a little bit of a growth rate. I don't know, I think it was for the past year, it was like 2.5%.
Well, we talked about the overall economy and the GDP growth, and the economy's kind of been stuck at 2% growth, even though for some quarter to quarter there's been some variances. It was high as like 4.8 one quarter, and the next quarter you're down, 2%. So we're kind of stuck in this mode of 2%, which limits or holds back the number of jobs that are available.
And what's normal?
Well, you'd like to have 3.5% to 4%. Then you've got more robust growth. You've definitely seen business expansion and hiring, substantially more hiring. There'd be a lot more jobs available to individuals. As you know, a lot of folks coming out of college these days are having a hard time finding a job. And it's simply because when you're growing at 2%, the economy's simply not growing fast enough, generating enough new jobs to absorb those individuals coming into the job market, and that's what we're seeing, certainly on a national level. Even though we've recovered all those jobs that we lost during the Great Recession, but it took 5 years, so it's been the slowest recovery since at least World War II. Been a very slow recovery, and Illinois, of course, has trailed the country in job growth. So it's even you even feel it more in this state than even some of our surrounding states.
Why do you think that is? I mean, we keep hearing from lawmakers, Illinois is in a great location. We have so many, resources available to us. What's the problem? Governor Rauner wants to make Illinois compassionate and competitive. Why are we trailing other states?
Well, a lot of it probably has to do with our fiscal situation. Companies don't like uncertainty. And so, the taxes were at one level, they went up to another level, now they're supposed to go down, but then they may go back up. We have a $100 billion unfunded pension liability. And how do you solve that? You don't have solved it by increasing taxes. So I think many would argue it's simply a lot of it has to do with our fiscal issues. But you're right, in terms of, we do have great transportation systems, access to capital. We have a lot of positives, but there's also some negatives that have held the state back. And that's outlined in our report that we did on the economy, and it's online. I'd encourage people to go on and take a look at that, because it not only looks at the short term, but looks at the long term aspects for Illinois as well. Okay.
And then in the presentation, I remember something was mentioned about a housing crisis. I
don't know if it's a crisis. Illinois did get hit harder than some of the other states in terms of foreclosures, and we're working our way through that. And what you're seeing is that as a result of, one, it's difficult to get loans these days, and so what you're seeing is that you're seeing the increase in multi-family housing, like apartments and those types of things, but not in single-family housing. And the permits, you look at permits because that's a precursor to new home construction, and those are at a very low level in Illinois. We have worked our way through, and we're still working our way through, but we have worked our way through a lot of the foreclosure activity that took place, not just in Illinois, but a lot of states. But we're still kind of working our way through that. And so I think that's what they're talking about in terms of, I wouldn't call it a crisis anymore, but certainly we're working our way out of it, and it's not nearly what it was a few years ago.
Okay, so overall, if you had to I don't know if there's a way to sum up Illinois' economy, there's a growth rate, but it's very slow, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that, we're trying to work our way out of it, and I think these fiscal issues have a big part of it, or will be a big part of it. Hopefully the legislature and the governor will be able to work out some kind of solutions to these problems, and I think they will. We have a lot of smart people here in the legislature and in the governor's office, and I think they'll work their way through that and get Illinois' fiscal situation stabilized, and I think that'll do a lot to help with the economic growth in the long term.
Okay, thank you so much, Dan from COGFA, for joining us here on the Illinois Channel.
Well, thank you very much, Shirley.